Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Penny Lane podcast. In this episode, Blaine and Justin chat with Joe Callaway. He's a golfer that trades OTC and penny stocks. Throughout the episode, Joe shares his small cap trading journey, the importance of having a competitive mindset, and managing your lifestyle as a trader. If you find value from this episode, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you to our sponsors, Pennies Going in Raw, Aries Broker, and Last Bottle Wines for supporting the show. Enjoy.
The stock market is hotter than ever right now, and traders are taking advantage. But what does that mean for the people who still haven't started trading? The market can be a little intimidating at first, but you don't have to be alone in the learning experience. We at the Pennies Going in Raw podcast are here to help you. I'm Dan, and with my co-host Hugh Henney, we make the stock market a fun but informative experience for our listeners. We offer knowledge for all levels of traders, from beginners to those who do it full time. On PGIR, we discuss up-to-date news about the stock market and interview other traders who all started out just like us and made it big. You'll hear from Hugh and other multi-millionaire traders, founders and CEOs of companies, FinTwit superstars, and even professional athletes. Have you ever thought about investing your hard-earned cash but don't know where to start? Do you have money just sitting in your savings account collecting dust? We were all there once too. Listen to Pennies Going in Raw on the iHeartRadio app, on Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, Joe. Welcome to the Penny Lane podcast. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. How are you guys?
Good. I'm so glad you could make it.
Me too.
Justin.
Hello. Welcome back to the Penny Lane podcast.
What a sight for sore eyes.
I know. I look like I'm a Blues Clues with this background.
You do. It has been 6 weeks since we've talked. It's been a long time.
Who's counting?
I am.
Yeah.
I am. Congratulations. Last Bottle Wines is back.
Oh, man. Thank goodness. And I think if you were to run, the margins that they're making off of one customer, me being said customer,
yeah.
It's just money that's going from this pocket to that pocket, back to that pocket. It's very exciting. Certainly worth it. What a business. And I'm also doing word of mouth advertising, which doesn't show up on those marketing leads. But a lot of people, I'm sending text to Blaine every now and then, like, hey, what's the code again? Is it a new code? I got this person hooked and that person hooked. And, if there's no reoccurring revenue there, I'll make up for it myself.
Sure. Now, for those of you listeners who are also addicted to Last Bottle Wines, which you should be. Why? Great company, great wine, great customer service, killer marketing. Mm-hmm. Get in on the Last Bottle Wines. You want to download the app. You want to use code PENNY10. This is a new code. PENNY10. You get 10% off for one order. Joe, do you like wine?
I do.
All right, now, what you need to do is you need to get your phone out. You need to download Last Bottle Wines app. Game changer. Game changer. Anyway, I haven't talked to Justin since we've gotten him back as an advertiser, and this is big news for our family.
It's marquee. It's number one for me. Absolutely big fan of Last Bottle. These packages show up, and it's just full of bottles of wine. I love it.
What could be better? What could be better? All right. Joe, can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Yeah, so I started trading back in July of 2017, and like everybody, I had no idea what was going on or any idea what I was doing. And I actually found Discord through Reddit and joined like an OTC chat, kind of bubbled my way around there for a little bit. And then I managed to meet a guy in May of 2018 who was posting information in a chat I was in, and I had no idea what it was. It sounded really high level stuff. I had no idea what it was going on. So I DM'd him and I was like, what is this information? Like, what are you talking about? And he responded with a spreadsheet of like 5,000 OTC stocks that were all detailed out, like research and everything. He's like, do you want to learn? I said, sure. And I've been learning from him ever since. And I got really good at OTC for like 2 years. And then I started branching out into small caps like end of probably like halfway through 2020. Because OTCs were like really hot for a while. Mm-hmm. And then they started to slow down like last year. And I was doing small caps for about like a year and a half now, like maybe 2 years, but a year and a half probably more seriously. And then now with the whole market being the way it is, I kind of do everything. Like I'll do large caps or whatever's kind of running for the day. But my main background's in researching OTCs and finding out stocks that will run before they actually run. So like reading filings, just seeing each setup and kind of just watching them and see how they trade. And I kind of applied that to small caps too, where I'll find small caps at lows or small caps trading at levels where no one's interested in them. And just from reading filings, just watching the action, I can kind of get an idea of if it might go or not. Now, it doesn't mean I'm always right, but more often than not, between me and my mentor and some other people, like we have a good eye for like what might get a run at some point soon. So that's kind of my background. And then, of course, I still day trade, but like whenever I have like a really good day, it's most likely a swing going off. So yeah, I'm mostly a long bias trader. I should have said that from the beginning, but I do short here and there. It's just not my strong suit.
I love that it was a spreadsheet that got you hooked from somebody. It was a 5,000 line spreadsheet. You're either in this world a spreadsheet person or not a spreadsheet person. I like spreadsheets. Blaine, do you like spreadsheets? Are you a spreadsheet person?
Can't do it. Don't know what they do.
Yeah.
It's not for me.
You're one or the other in this world.
Yeah. I actually, apparently this is a thing. I didn't know it. I thought I was a lone wolf, but I get really nauseous when I have to do tedious things. An example would be like threading a needle. Like, it's very difficult for me to do. Spreadsheets fall into this category. So
that's hilarious.
Therefore, I have a physical reaction and cannot do it. But congratulations to those that can.
I mean, so my background before I started trading, so I started trading when I was like 27 years old. So before that, I was working as a credit analyst, like underwriting loans. So it was a bunch of spreadsheets and a bunch of that similar data. So seeing a spreadsheet on trading, which I love doing, is way easier for me versus like trying to underwrite a loan, which I have zero interest in doing.
Sure.
Serious question, being a credit analyst in a past life, or maybe I'm not sure if you're still in the industry at all, and also that kind of matters what industry you're in, but you are looking at risk profiles kind of day in and day out in that job, right? And perhaps lending parameters that fall under certain risk criteria. Does that make you more risk averse, or are you more risk on with your trading? I mean, I know we're talking OTC, right? But as an example, like, do you just see like, I hate these stupid parameters that I always have to lend within, and so therefore I'm just a big risk on person? Or do you love to live inside of those parameters and therefore your risk appetite is very small when doing your personal trading?
Yeah. So no, I went full time in October of 2018. So I don't work as a credit analyst anymore.
Okay. Yeah.
As far as parameters, I mean, if I see a good setup, I have a problem of going too much into a good setup. So like, I want to take advantage of it, and it's worked out in the past. Now it's kind of in a weird market environment where you'll have like a week of small caps running and then 3 weeks of them like doing nothing, or large caps will move and then not move. So it's like it's kind of hit or miss these days. But no, I've actually it's kind of, I never really thought about it in the way you just said it, because I never really had that authority back when I was working to approve or not approve a loan. It was always a commercial lender, but I never really, I mean, with trading, you kind of have to be able to risk your money and take risks. So for me, it was never about, like, I'll take base hits every day, but if I see a good setup, I don't want it to go to waste. So I'll go in pretty good, like relative to my portfolio size, if it's worth it.
So go back one comment that you made. You said if you're up on any given day, that is due to, I'm sorry, did you say a large swing that you may have placed?
Oh, so I said, if I have a really good day, like realized, not unrealized, like a really good realized green day, most likely it's a swing going off. My intraday trading, like, it's all right. It's something to write home about, but I'm not going to be making like the high 5 or 6 figure trades that some people are making intraday. Like, that's not what I do. I'm trying to get to that point, but it's a lot of work. But the swings when they go off, that's when I can make like some decent money. That's how like a lot of my stuff is made, and that's how like I was taught too. So I kind of gravitate towards that. But I'm trying to expand the playbook.
I'm also very interested in your golf career.
Oh yeah, so I know we were DMing about that. So like I've had hip issues for like 5 years now, and I've had 4 surgeries in that time. So I still golf here and there, not as much as before. But I used to play D1 golf for Villanova, and I played a lot in high school. And when I graduated, I played a lot of tournaments here in the Philly area. And I would definitely say that helped me because it's just like, I mean, when I was playing golf, every time I play golf, someone makes a comment. They made a comment back in the day when I was playing in college, and I didn't really realize it at the time, where it's like, you know, Joe could be shooting like 300 par or 30 over par, and you wouldn't know because it's the same kind of, his face looks the same kind of composure. It doesn't throw clubs or anything, and it translates very well to trading because it's like there's days where you wake up and you'll be firing on all cylinders, you know, like anything you touch like goes your way, and then other days you wake up and it's like you may think you're doing the right thing and it just nothing works out. So
Yep.
both games are very mental, and it's you versus you in both the sports, or not sports because trading's not a sport, but both areas of what you're trying to do. So it's helped a lot, and it's even in trading too. Like my mom, we were on vacation. I mean, not my mom, sorry, my dad. We were on vacation in Breckenridge like this past February, and we went skiing, and I was trading during the day or in the morning because it's Colorado. It's 2 hours back from Eastern Standard Time that I'm used to, and it's like I lost some money on Tesla, and like he had no idea. He found out like 3 days later when he asked me, "Hey, did you trade at all on the trip? Like, how'd you do?" And I told him, and he was like, "You were laughing," and I'm like, "Yeah, like that's just the way it is. Like you can't." Yeah, I mean, there's days where I'm like, "Oh, this sucks." Like I don't want to talk to anybody. Like get me away from people. But like at the end of the day, you have to be able to like just be yourself, and just at the end of the day, be like, all right, like this was that day. Put it into its own box, compartmentalize it, new day tomorrow, and then go from there. Or else it's hard to make it because it's definitely brutal at times, but it's worth it though if you can make it work.
Were you born like that, or is this a skill you developed through golf?
I've always been kind of that way. Like I've always been kind of, I mean, I've always had friends, but I've always kind of kept to myself as far as like just expressing stuff wise. Like, yeah, if I had a great round of golf, or if I did really well on my test or something in school, I'd tell my parents or whatever. But I was never one to get like super emotional if I had a bad day or something. So it just helped with golf. And then I think golf kind of solidified that to the point where it's like I mean, golf can be harder than trading because if you have a bad hole in golf, it can mess up your entire round versus trading where it's like, if you have a bad trade and there's a good day in the market, you can potentially make it back.
Yeah.
So
well, if you've quote unquote YOLO'd, then maybe perhaps it does ruin your whole portfolio. But
yeah,
but do you think the flip side to that though, Joe, is that with sports and athletics and golf in particular, the mindset of repetition and continued improvement, and perhaps the drive to continue, it's practice in sports. It's not practice in trading, but you're continuing to push yourself. I mean, do you think the flip side to that is that that's not something that is that you're kind of just born with, right? I mean, that's what you draw from on the athletic side, that you had to do that for so many years?
This episode is sponsored by Aries, the newest trading broker offering both mobile and desktop trading. The app is built for retail traders by retail traders, and they welcome user feedback. Do you ever nail the entry on a trade but can't get filled? You won't need to worry about that anymore because they are a self-clearing brokerage direct to exchange with TradeStation, and they are much faster than other brokerages that route through a clearinghouse. Aries is a multi-asset platform. You are able to trade stocks, options, futures, index options, crypto, and micros. You are also able to buy, sell, and trade cryptocurrencies. Lastly, earn up to 5% interest on eligible crypto assets with no lockups. Aries has partners and offers many free tools such as advanced charting, TradingView with unlimited charting and indicators, free options flow, dark pool data, and many more tools on their roadmap to come. This is on average a $50 to $100 per month value, all for free. Finally, you can withdraw and deposit actual crypto and transfer to the US dollar and use it to trade any trading assets offered. Aries is the first brokerage to offer this. Please click the link in our bio or go to www.tradearies.com/PennyLane to sign up for an account today.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely an element of you have to be kind of born with it. I mean, there's only so much you can learn. I mean, learning goes a long way, but I'd say it definitely helps to be predisposed to that way because I've known guys in the past who both in golf and in trading where they've either had a good amount of talent or didn't have much talent but worked their asses off and got really good. But then at the end of the day, their mindset and how they react to failure just wasn't great. So
Yeah.
I wound up never hearing from them again. So, I mean, you hear about a lot in trading where someone on Twitter will start posting like unreal gains and you're like, where did this guy come from? And then like a year later, he's gone.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, it just happens. So it's definitely, I would just, it definitely helps to be born with it. Let's put it that way. But
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You can't just catch lightning in a bottle in athletics and just become a D1 athlete for a season and then all of a sudden you're not a D1 athlete anymore, right? That's not how somehow that works. It is interesting, Blaine. We've talked about before how many people, perhaps maybe more so on the retail side of trading, are in some version like an engineer, mostly an intellectual engineer. Like it's crazy. And I think it comes from being mathematicians, right? But if you take a look at the makeup of Wall Street from a corporate standpoint, it's like riddled with D1 athletes or past D1 athletes, or that's not fair. Any college athlete could be D2, could be D1 AA, doesn't matter. And I think there's obviously something to that, you know, from a psychological standpoint, from a competitive standpoint. It's crazy how that just seems to be like the predisposed kind of person, right? But again, that's all corporate Wall Street. And then on the retail side, we spent a lot of time talking about people who've had this background in electrical engineering and mathematics, but it's interesting. I think for me, this is the first time talking to someone on this podcast. Well, we've had people who are very crafted in their skills, you know, in some sports, right? But D1 athlete, retail trader, if that's what you want to call yourself, Joe, but you kind of work for yourself, right? Trading. I think it's fascinating the like kind of the intersection between like really, really smart, obviously got that kind of math brain on one end, and then got this competition and drive and practice and repetition and you know, the other side of the brain, right? Which is, I don't know, it's great, and I think it's big part of pointing towards sustained success, right? You've been doing this for over 5 years now, so that's no small feat in itself.
Didn't really think about it in that terms, but yeah, it's a decent
You're
amount of times.
old, man. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm too old. I mean, I see these guys on Twitter. They're like, I mean, I'm friends with a guy who's like 22 years old, and he absolutely made bank last year. And I'm like, I wish I found trading when I was his age. It's wild, but yeah. I mean, it's kind of it's funny to say this, but I've found that the smarter you are, it's kind of harder to get better at trading because I have friends who are doctors. I know friends of friends who are like lawyers and really smart people. And then during the pandemic, they tried trading, and I guess it's to a fact that if you're so smart, you think that you believe in your ideas so much that you're not willing to admit that you're wrong. And you have to be able to be like, step back and just say, hey, I can be wrong. Like just because I'm wrong doesn't mean like it's the end of the world. And that's where it kind of comes into, if you have like a sports background or some kind of, not necessarily sports, but anything, it could be like chess or whatever, just some kind of background where your norm is dealing with adversity and trying to overcome it. So just because you're wrong doesn't mean like, oh, you give up. Like you just have to keep finding ways to overcome what happened and just get better. So, yeah, it's pretty interesting because like when I went for a couple of interviews when I was still working for like Morgan Stanley and JP Morgan in the wealth management side. And they even said themselves, they're like, you know, we're looking for people who are more than just book smart. We want D1 athletes or people who have been exposed to competition because we find they perform better than people who are just book smart. So yeah, it's funny you said that, Justin, because it's very true. That's what you tend to find in Wall Street because they like to search for that kind of person.
Interesting.
So, do you gamble on the golf course? You don't have to answer if you don't want to.
Not really. I mean, so I used to go to the casino, like not a lot, but here and there to play poker before trading. And when I started trading, I kind of lost my drive for it. So it's kind of the same way with golf. Like, I mean, if I'm playing with family, we do like $1 bet for the front nine and $1 bet for the back nine just for fun. It's nothing serious, but I'll never do like anything more than like a couple of bucks because it's just really not worth it. I use so much mental focus on trading that I have just like, I'm kind of whatever with gambling and golf. But
Yeah.
why?
Yeah.
What about you?
No, I'm too terrible. I mean, I gamble. I just know that I'm like, this is the money that I'm signing away to whoever I'm playing against. I just know like that's a loss.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I treat it the same way. So it's, especially my brother. My brother's pretty good. He's played in some like nationwide events. So I can't bet against him much when I play. That's for sure.
So, do you by any chance know who Jared Tindler is or listen to that episode? Either one of you? No.
No.
Totally fine.
No. Okay. Good.
Do you know who he is, Justin?
No, I know the episode, but
Oh, did you listen to it?
2/3.
Okay.
I sit on planes,
anyway,
you know.
Yeah, we interviewed him 10 days ago or something, and he is a coach and started out by coaching golfers and then transitioned into poker players and now coaches traders, with the idea being that all of those things require the same mental fortitude, which I'm obsessed with the idea. That's why I wanted to talk to a golfer. Obviously, like so many parallels between trading and golf. It's a good episode. Anyone listening should listen to it, and you guys should maybe. Justin, finish the episode.
I will. I have another flight coming up. So speaking of coaching, Joe, do you have coaches for trading? I know Blaine does, and sometimes it's coaching by committee.
I hired Jared. I have my first meeting with him tomorrow. I'm excited.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's solid. I don't. One of my buddies has done it, and like just a psychologist to see as far as getting his mind right for trading. But honestly, like my mentor's kind of been that guy for me. He's just, I mean, he's been trading for like 11 years, and I can always bounce ideas off him. And I mean, even he says like this market, he's never seen a market like this, and it's kind of baffling him at times. But at the same time, it's like there's always cycles. So just because it's bad now doesn't mean it'll be bad forever. So, I mean, he said this to me when I first started learning from him. He was like, it's right place, right time, right place, right time. Just because, like, so when I first started trading, he was slow and nothing was really happening. And he's like, listen, just survive until it gets better. And then when it gets better, you're going to bank. And then a year and a half later, we had COVID, and a lot of people made a lot of money. No, I mean, he's been there for me, and I've just always been kind of a self-starter kind of guy. And I guess at some point it might be interesting to just see a psychologist to see what they could do. But, I'm a pretty self-sufficient kind of guy where I don't need to bounce ideas off of, or not ideas, but just kind of get feedback. I'm pretty decent at being self-aware of what I'm doing wrong and how to improve on it. Doesn't mean I improve on it. I have to work on some stuff, obviously. But no, I mean, I'm excited to hear how that goes with who you're seeing. I mean, that'd be cool to get some feedback about that.
Totally. We did like a mini session during the episode, and he told me that everything that I'm like doing wrong in trading stems from a self-confidence problem, which I think is probably accurate. So anyway, we'll work on it.
I mean, self-confidence is huge. Go ahead, Justin.
No, that's the downside of having somebody not dissect you psychologically, but then like the only downside is then you start to get into your head and you're like, maybe I do have all of these things I need to work on. And then, it's interesting how you can maybe perceive or take that feedback. So Joe, is your mentor, is that the individual that sent you the original spreadsheet that got you to dive in?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
And
awesome. So this has been day one. Very cool.
yeah, and it's it's been quite a journey. Like he's been with me when I used all my savings at the time, and I didn't have the ton. So I used to use all my savings. I went into one OTC stock with like 60 or 70% of my portfolio at the time, which was, I had like 28 grand. I went into the stock with like 18 grand and I made like 44 grand. And then I quit my job. I was like, all right, well, I got fired from my job because I traded too much. And then I went through a stint of trying to make it. And then this stock went off and I was like, all right, like, I think I can do this. And it's just been ever since. But, yeah, I mean, I guess, well, to the mental fortitude point, like, for example, when I was the first 2 years from like, so I met him in May of 2018. So until May of 2020, I was waking up at like 6 a.m. every day. And then I researched with him until like 8 a.m., trade from 8 until like 5 o'clock, research from 5 until like 1 in the morning, and then go to bed and do it all over again for like 2 years straight. That's all I really did. Of course, I went on vacation here and there, and then, like, I saw friends and stuff. But during the weekday, I was kind of like really honed in because I just wanted to make it. I just didn't want to go back to a regular job, and I just knew this was it. So,
how disciplined are you in the rest of your life with like diet, exercise, things in your life that require discipline?
I love working out. I guess I love working out too much because I got injured. And so I've had 7 surgeries in the past like 5 years. Like it's been nuts. I've had like 3 on my left shoulder. That's good now, thankfully. And I've had 4 on my right hip. My right hip's kind of still not great, but I love working out. Like when I'm not injured, I work out 5 days a week in the gym, and then I'll go running or go play soccer or basketball or something on the weekend, stuff like that. So I'd say I'm a pretty disciplined guy, but it's kind of a work hard, play hard thing. So like last year, I mean, when the market was really good for like the past year and a half, I went to Traders for a Cause. I went to Miami with friends. I went to Miami 3 times with friends. I did Tulum. I did Tampa. So I definitely enjoyed myself. But I wanted to make sure I got to a point where I wouldn't have to worry about spending that kind of money. So I did all the work on the back end so I could enjoy it. And that's kind of the way I am. So like now, when the market's harder and it's not my kind of style to make a good amount of money, I'm way more like pulled back. I'm not going out as much. Like I still hang out with friends and stuff, but I'm not going on these trips. I'm not trying to see everything. So, and I think a lot of people are probably doing the same. But yeah, so.
Interesting.
Well,
that origin story is very similar to Verde's. If you
Oh,
know
really?
who he is.
Yeah, actually, I traded with him in a room. I've known him for like 3 years. I just
Yeah.
wasn't too aware of his background, but I should probably get more aware of it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And the like research, a lot of things you're saying are similar to things that Verde said during his interview.
Okay. Yeah, we talk. I know he's on vacation now, but when he's back, like we talk a decent amount. So he's a good dude.
Yeah, that was a real incredible moment to be able to talk to him, because I like started in Atlas and really look up to him. So that was a cool episode.
Nice.
So I'm currently doing this thing where I'm like, I tell a story all the time. I will tell it to you. I had dinner with this guy who was an Olympian, and then he became a coach of Olympic mogul skiers. That was his sport, that he coaches those people. And he said that, being a great athlete does not necessarily make you a great competitor, because you're a great competitor by focusing on all your weaknesses and like systematically getting rid of those weaknesses. Whereas you can be an athlete and just focus on your strengths and be like incredible, but when it comes to a competition, people can find your weaknesses and those really show. So I am doing this thing where I am like trying to get as focused and strict in a lot of different areas in my life, hoping that will sort of transform my trading. And I just wanted to know what you thought as far as like leading a disciplined life and being a disciplined trader, and if you think all of that comes together in some way.
I definitely think it does. Like it's, I don't know. I see it as, I mean, I keep saying my mentor, but he's been the guy since day one who was like, listen, like, I don't know what your lifestyle is like. And I was like, this is how I am. He's like, oh, perfect. Because it definitely has a big effects. So like,
Mm-hmm.
if you're not used to waking up at, so if you're on the East Coast, market opens at 9:30. If you're not used to waking up at like 6:30 or 7 a.m. to like watch pre-market, trade it, watch the news, see what's going on, and you wake up at like 9:20 or something just for open, and unless you're like a seasoned veteran, like if you've already done this before, you can wake up whatever time you want to trade your setups. But if you're like newer, or even myself, like I still wake up at 6:30, 6 o'clock pretty much every day because I just want to see what's going on. And if you don't do that, if you go out late at night, you sleep in, you wake up late, it's going to definitely have a negative effect on your trading. And it's just, I think it all matters, like eating right, getting the right sleep, um, being in shape too. Because I mean, we're sitting here. I mean, I'm kind of hunched over right now, but if you're sitting at a desk for like 8, 10 hours a day, yeah. I mean, I have a desk where you can go from standing to seated, and it's helped a lot with like everything. But just being seated down like 8 hours a day, like that's a huge effect on your posture, your breathing, and everything. So if you're not trying to correct that in the gym or stretching, that can have a negative effect down the road. So I don't know. I just not saying you have to eat like a monk. Like I eat whatever I want. I don't. It's just I'm just not eating all the time. As you can tell, I'm not a heavy guy, but I definitely think that leading a disciplined life to a certain extent helps with trading. You don't have to be like super strict, but you can't be showing up late. You can't be kind of doing whatever and expecting the same results as, say, someone who's here all day, every day. Um, I mean, it definitely depends on the market too. Like being all here all day, every day for this kind of market, maybe not the thing to do if your setups aren't there. So, because you don't want to be taking any trade that comes your way and potentially lose money. But when the market's good, you should not be taking a lot of vacations. You should be here making your money. So when it's slower out, you can just take that time off and not worry about just relaxing and enjoying life. So, yeah.
Totally.
But I mean, with
Interesting.
you have your own family. So that's like, I'm a single guy. So you have a lot more to worry about than I do because I can just wake up whenever versus you have to take care of your kids, make sure they're okay. So it's definitely going to be a bigger challenge for you, but not saying you can't do it. Um, but yeah, it definitely helps. I'll definitely agree with that. Yeah.
So
Justin.
I want to ask you about your T-shirt. Can we talk about that?
This was not a sponsorship. Honestly, I woke up today and I was like, I threw it on because I just have tended to wear trading shirts when I work out because I'm working out later today. Um, but no, I mean, I got this T-shirt at Traders for a Cause last November when I was in Vegas. I got a bunch of shirts. I have like a Guardian shirt. I have a Cobra mug or something. So I have like, because I use all three of those brokers for long and shorting. So I just happen to wear this. I'm not sponsored by them. I'm not saying to like do anything, but they're a good broker. But they're all three are really good. But no, I just like using them.
Blaine, do you
Can
know what Traders for a Cause is?
Yes,
Okay.
I do.
Is
I do want to. Sorry, we need to pause for a commercial break.
Irrational exuberance? When it comes to killer wine at drastically low prices, 30 to 70% off retail and free shipping, we live for that here at Last Bottle Wines. Whether you went long or short on GameStop, you'll need a glass of something terrifically tasty, and we've got the goods. Last Bottle is a daily wine site based in Napa, California. One wine every day at Black Swan event prices, usually 30 to 70% off until poof, it's gone. Whether you're a pound the table type, think ultra crisp, quaffable Sauvignon Blanc, or a dividend aristocrat, Burgundy, or Napa Cab, there simply is no better place to buy wine on the web, and they always have free shipping. Last Bottle has a deal just for Penny Lane listeners. Use promo code PENNY10 to save 10% on your next order with Last Bottle. The code is good for one order and one order only.
Okay, Traders for a Cause. Justin, yes, I do know what Traders for a Cause is. Joe, do you want to tell us, though? I haven't been.
So it's hosted by Nate Michaud from Investors Underground, and he has a bunch of speakers come, and it's basically like a way just to network with other traders.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like I didn't necessarily go there to learn trading things. I just went there just to see people who I see on Twitter all the time and meet up with friends who I've met in the past. So so that was last November. Last July, I met up with about 20 people in Tampa who I've traded with but never met up, and we had a great time. We were there for a week. It was an awesome time. And then about half of them went to the Traders for a Cause. So we all met up. I mean, I met people too. I met like Ricky Analog. I met Nate. I met Sang Lucci. It was really cool just to meet everybody because, I mean, we're trading in front of our screens and you just see these people on Twitter and you don't really know them in person. But when you meet them in person, you have a drink with them at a bar and you're just talking and just kind of talking about whatever. It's pretty cool just to just hang out and not be so stock focused and just talk about whatever you want to talk about. So it's from Friday till Sunday. And I went earlier just to hang out with friends, but it was really cool. They have 2 cocktail hours on Friday and Saturday, and then there's talks are Saturday and Sunday for 8 to 10 hours, I think, total each day. And it's just really cool just to hear people's story. I mean, they had a bunch of speakers, so I just liked hearing everyone talk, and it's just kind of very interesting to get their perspective on trading and their styles and how they're doing and what they're doing, how they're going forward. So I liked it a lot. If you like to network with other people, I think it's great. But I just had a really fun weekend. So I just recommend it if you want to go.
Cool. What are your thoughts on the OCT and penny market right now?
Ooh, I'm hoping it picks up. So I don't know if you're aware, but last September, a rule came out. So before last September, there's different levels of OTCs. There's dark and defunct, meaning they have barely any filings out. It's basically like a shell company. And what happens is a lot of times people would make fake Twitter accounts, fake websites, and pump up these companies that are doing nothing. And it could be Twitter people. It could be they could be people trying to hijack the shell. A lot of Wild West stuff would go on before. And what happened is in last September, they came out with a rule saying if you are dark and defunct and if you don't get current within a certain amount of time, we're going to put your stock on the expert market, which is basically saying you can't touch it. So after a certain amount of time, a lot of tickers went to this expert market, so you couldn't trade them. So now what happens is you have to be either pink current or OTC QB to trade on the OTC market, which either designation means you have to be current on your filings. So the problem with that is a lot of times where I make my money is from loading stocks that I think would get filings in the near future. And when filings would come out, people would just kind of buy it up and it would kind of go crazy. One stock, GOFF, GOFF, it went from dub 20, so 0.002 to 50 cents. That was the entire run just off of filings. So it's crazy. But now this rule came out, and then the SEC's been cracking down on fraudsters. So it takes about 2 to 3 years for the SEC to build a case and to bring fraudsters to justice. So we're seeing a lot of cases come out from 2015 to 2018 now. So stuff that happened in the past are coming out now. And it's the combination of a lot of stocks going the expert market and the SEC cracking down on people has led to the OTC being kind of a barren wasteland where not a lot's going on. Recently there was a couple runners SYSX went from dub 50 to 10 cents. So it ran 2,000%. But that was the first runner in a long, long time. So I just think it's a matter of time. Honestly, it's not going to go away. The runs are going to come back, but it's not going to be to the point of filings come out and we're just going to run 1,000%. I think it's just a matter of time. So I think the market too is not helping. The market's going down. People are not trading as much. So there's less dollar volume in every market, not just OTCs. But I think probably towards the end of this year, next year is when OTCs should pick up a little bit. But right now it's kind of just a wait and see game. But that's kind of my best view of it at this point. So I don't know why.
You just
Sorry, go ahead.
mentioned something, Joe, that caught my attention at least. You talked about how, at least with the general market, with the larger indices, volume of trading is down, obviously. But for you, I mean, that has to matter so much more, right? Or am I wrong here? I mean, if you're you talked about you talked about one of your original size trades, which was very large, right? And at the price point of some of these, I mean, that's got to be 100,000 shares, 200,000 shares, 300,000 shares for some of this stuff, which, I mean, how many other people are really trading these names in any given day? I mean, that's a massive volume in terms of, probably what the float is out there on some of these. So I'm just going to guess that volume to you has got to be one of the first things that you pay attention to, unless it's don't care, I'm going to hold it for, 4 weeks waiting for some of those filings to come through. But I'm just going to guess that volume has just got to be a leading indicator for you, right?
Yeah, the stock that I went in on, it was at like $1.50. So the size I had wasn't really anything, thankfully. But on some stocks that are in like below a penny, yeah, volume definitely matters. Like I'm in some stocks. I mean, once you get down to like dub 2, dub 3, like having 1 million shares of something, that's like $2,000. So at dub 2, it's like $2,000. Everyone has different portfolio size, but for me, like that's not really a lot, thankfully, because I've done well for myself. But now it's like the problem now is I'll buy something and then nothing might happen for a while because of the market. Like that's just been the way it is. Like I was in a stock. Well, I'll say this. I was in a stock for like 2 years. That was like my longest hold for OTC. I wanted to get out and I couldn't get out, but I was in at like 9 cents. It went to 20 cents. So after 2 years, it went from 9 cents to 20 cents on a 1-day pump. I sold it, made like 50%. I was like, great, I'm done with this stock. Thank God. The next month, it went to $3.50 in 1 day. And it's like from 9 cents. And it's like, you just never know. Like sometimes it might get pumped, sometimes it might not. But yeah, like I look for volume. I look for like unusual volume at lows. But the thing is, not a lot of people look for the stuff that I look for. So it might be me and like several other people trying to load this stuff, but it's just not many people can read the filings and understand that, hey, this might go off at some point. Doesn't mean it will go off. Like I'm not always right, but it just means that more often than not, it should go off. So like a lot of people will wait for a PR to hit or some kind of catalyst in order to buy something. And I definitely trade those stocks. But for some of the stocks that I'm in, I'm kind of waiting for a catalyst to come to send it. So, yeah, you're right. Like I'm in some stocks where like if I want to get out, I can't. I just have to wait. So it's definitely an issue. So I'm hoping that changes soon. But at some point it should, I hope. But until then, I'm just kind of chilling and just biding my time. And until then, I'll just day trade and make money day trading and then kind of wait until my swings go off.
How involved were you in trading Ltnc?
Oh man, I was just thinking.
That's
I know.
So I was actually in that one at Lowe's, and when I saw Stan tweeting it, and I saw everyone on Twitter going crazy about it, I was like, you know what? They're just going to pump and dump this. It'll come right back down to my average. I'm just going to sell, take this gain, and not worry about it. So I sold for like 100%, like in low dubs or something. And then it just kept going off. And I'm like, oh my God, like why? That's how it happens sometimes. It's crazy. It's just like, when I talk to people at OTCs, they're like, oh, why don't you just buy and hold it forever and sell like at pennies or dollars? And I'm like, the amount of stocks that go from like dub 1 to like a penny are so rare. But it seemed like they were all doing it in the past year and a half because everything was flying. So Ltnc, I was like, there's no way this is happening. I've seen this so many times where like a pumper comes in, he pumps it a couple ticks, and then it sells off. So I'm like, take my gains, wait. But in this case, it didn't happen. That stock was nuts. I couldn't believe the run it went on. It was just crazy. So like, I traded it some days, but didn't really make what I should have made on it. But it's like, it's just nuts. Why did you guys trade that at all, or what'd you do?
So it was running when we started the podcast a year ago, and a lot of our introductory episodes focused on what's going on with LTNC, Takeover Joe, the hydrogen water. Like, we
Yeah.
were pretty into it. And actually, our podcast has one-star review. One.
Really?
Which gives us a total rating of 4.9 instead of 5.
Oh
And
my
we
God.
got the 1-star review because someone was ticked that we were like talking bad about LTNC. They're like, this thing's going to $1 or whatever. Like, you guys, yeah. No.
You know what?
But anyway, taught us a lesson.
It did. That 1-star review, Blaine, could have come from Kate, my wife, because
Sure.
that's the first stock she ever purchased.
Yeah.
Because of this, she was like, I got to open an E-Trade account and I'll buy, I mean, who knows, what is that, 50,000 shares of LTNC or something?
Yeah,
she's
whatever
like,
it is.
I got to give this a whirl. And
Yeah.
that went very bad for her.
It did. Yeah, but
Yeah.
she was only in like $50, right? So,
Right.
so,
Oh, that's
it was
good.
nothing.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
either way, that was her first foray into an E-Trade account. And it had to have been E-Trade. Yeah. Either way. So, conspiracy theory, the 1-star review is actually a family member.
Could be. Could be. I will be
Anyway.
talking to Kate later today. Has any hydrogen water showed up at your house, Justin?
No, but I just learned a lot about liquefied hydrogen in terms of energy and fuel cells this week. That's really boring. We don't have to get into that, but I'm not
Woo.
that smart, but I learned a lot about it this week. And I imagine that there's a lot of OTC companies out there that probably have the next big invention for liquefied hydrogen and the way to store it and transport it and yada, yada, yada. So I imagine, Joe, that's probably not a foreign concept to you.
No. Well, so the thing about
See?
OTCs
There you
is most of them are fake. Like, they don't really do what they say. I don't know if you're aware of that, but
Oh, you mean LTNC?
yeah, LTNC, yeah.
Oh, do you
He was-
remember, Justin,
he was-
when we got into that story about the shell company that was the sub sandwich place and it was the
H-Wing.
New Jersey wrestling
H-Wing.
coach?
Yeah.
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 Oh, we were so deep into that. In fact, we ought to bring some of that back. That was
Well, we
fun.
sh-
That was good fun.
Now it's a reoccurring segment of Joe, which is, Joe, tell us the newest sham company that is I mean, LTNC, I think we figured out that he was probably just using this money to fund his hunt for Bigfoot.
Yes, that is what we discovered.
There's actually
Yeah.
a Bigfoot ticker. It was BGFT or
Nailed
something.
that
I
one
forget
too.
what it's called, but the literal company business description was, we're trying to find Bigfoot. And it obviously was a joke, but like, it would run. But no, I mean,
Someone pays money to file. I mean, to be a public company, depending on what market you're on and what filings are required, you can spend upwards of $1 million to $2 million for a basic company in just attorney and filing and accounting and audit fees. Like, that's insane. Just for now, I'm
Yeah.
imagining the guys hunting for Bigfoot didn't just pay $1 million to be public, but it's not for nothing. I mean, that's a lot. There's a lot of effort there.
there is. Well, it's like, it costs around 250 grand just to get a clean, like, OTC shell. And then you're right. Once you add on filings and lawyer fees and everything, like, it adds up to be a lot of money. But the thing is, it can be very profitable to have your own shell company because you're just selling shares and your cost basis is so cheap. So a lot of OTC companies come up with a fake PR. Normally it's something that's in style. So like when weed and Bitcoin were running, like 2 years ago when they were going crazy, even last year, what would happen is a lot of OTC companies would change their current business model to be either weed or Bitcoin. And then they come out with a PR saying, hey, like, we're producing CBD oil or something, or we just started mining Ethereum or Dogecoin or whatever it is, whatever catchy headline they would make up,
Blockchain.
Yeah, blockchain. NFTs, whatever they would do, and it would just run. And that's all they would do. And it's like total scam. And it's like the SEC knows this, but they let it go because they make all this money off filing fees. It's only when it gets to a certain point where if you get too out of control, like if you send your stock from like a penny to like dollars, that's when they're like, all right, we got to shut you down. This is way too much. But
Does that make the SEC complicit in fraud?
I mean, look at politicians.
I'm gonna have someone show up at my house, Blaine, and I'm
No.
probably gonna get axed.
Jesus.
I mean,
Oh,
I mean, there's. I feel like at every place you look, like there's always something going on. Like not just trading, but I mean, it's the way it's a shame, but that's kind of the way the world is. But it's like knowing what's real and what's not real, and how you can profit off that without the expense of other people. Like that's kind of like I just kind of read the finer details to see like, hey, this might be a sham company that might be pumped up. Like that's basically what I do. But I mean, even small caps is worse than OTCs at times. Like you had IGC. I don't know if you guys are aware, but IGC is like a total like it was weed, Bitcoin, it was everything at one point.
Yeah.
It was small cap, got delisted at OTC, then got relisted back into small cap land and went crazy again. Like small caps, you could run for like days and no one cares. It's kind of crazy. Like OTCs, they shut you down way earlier than small caps. But I don't know. Like it costs more money up front for like to be listed on the small caps, but the profit potential is just like way more. It's kind of crazy. And then people are probably like, why don't you make a shell? And I'm like, no way. That's way too much. Would never do that. I'm not into that game. Sorry, but go ahead.
Joe, do you have a horror story of getting caught up in a ticker or a company that ended up like where that name got shut down by the SEC or stopped or halted or whatever you want to call it, or they're now under investigation and you've just got a bag of nothing?
Oh yeah, it's happened. Trying to think. Like I was trading one stock. Trying to remember the name of it. Oh God, it's happened a couple times. I'm just trying to remember the names of these stocks, but like
that's all right. That's all right. But what happens on the tail end of that?
Well, so like what happened is there was like the SEC halted one stock. It was related tickers, and I forget the ticker symbols. It was like 2 years ago or something. But I was in this stock. It was trading at like $1.90, and the SEC halted its related ticker like earlier in the day, and then it halted at like 12 o'clock, and we like so I traded like a couple of people in like my own OTC chat. We have like 12 people, whatever, and we were like, oh, they just halted the stock. And we looked at the current stock we're in, it starts dropping like a rock because people are like, get out, it's not good. It goes from $1.90 to like 8 cents in like an hour. Like it was just like floored. And when you're trading in E-Trade or TD, it's very hard to get out of an OTC when it's like plummeting. Like if you have DAS and you're trading with Centerpoint or Cobra, like that's direct access, so it's way easier to get out. But in E-Trade or TD, it's like whatever you can get filled. So I try to sell. The price is at $1.50. I put a sell in for $1 when the bid was $1.50, and I missed everything. That's how quick it was. It was crazy. So, and like there's been times where I'll be in a ticker, and I'm waiting for it to go off, but like it gets halted because somebody got indicted or they didn't get filings in time or whatever. So I mean, I'm stuck in 2 stocks that are expert market because they didn't file in time for that deadline. It just is what it is. But like the hits that I've taken, it's kind of just cost of doing business compared to like all the gains I've made. So it's kind of just, you have to roll with the punches, but
that's that golf attitude.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But, I've definitely been a victim of it here and then. But I mean, even in small caps, I mean, you'll have at times where like a stock's trading and just gets halted for no reason. And then it comes out, like the PR was fake, or like we don't know why our stock's trading up here. There's no material evidence for it, and it'll just unhalt way down. And if you were long, you just get smoked. So I've seen that happen too. It hasn't happened to me on small cap land, but I've seen it happen. So
how much time do you spend being a web sleuth, trying to sift through what's real, what's not real?
I used to spend a lot of time when I was first learning. Nowadays, it's more just like as it comes up. So like if I see a stock that's like falling off, I'll kind of start digging. Like AFI, for example. AFI, it had like Chapter 11 like bankruptcy filing like on May 10th. And it closed the day, I think, at like 13 cents yesterday, and now it just hit like 80 cents today. And it's a small cap. And like I didn't read into that because I kind of missed it. But if I would have known, I would have bought it because like usually when a stock declares bankruptcy and it just sells off that much, there's normally like at least a decent bounce. But These days, maybe like, I don't know, half hour, an hour, just kind of depends. Some days I don't even research, but like back in the day when I was learning, I'd spend like hours at a time. So I say it just depends,
Wow.
but yeah. Yeah, I didn't have a life for a while, but it paid off. So it is what it is.
Well, as we're sort of coming to the end of our time here, I was hoping you could sort of give some advice to a new trader who might want to get into the OTC market.
You can't say don't do it.
I was going to say don't do it. I mean, small caps too is tough now these days. So I say either OTC or small caps. I would just say spend time just watching the market and not trading, and just learning filings, because I've seen it so many times where people will be in stocks, whether it be OTC or small cap, and they don't know what filing hits, and they're like, what does this mean? And I'm like, this is a good filing or this is a bad filing. You should be either buy more or get out. Like having a baseline understanding, like what an AK is, what like a pre-14C is, what all these, you don't have to like read everything about them, but like just knowing what's in them helps a lot, because like I don't have to spend time reading through a filing where if I see a filing come out, I just might instantly buy a stock because of that filing, versus somebody else who might have to read it, and by the time they fully understand it, it might be gone. So just watching and kind of getting an understanding for how stocks move and understanding filings to a base level. And then for me, I never used paper trading because there was no emotion involved. I just kind of used really small amounts to get familiar with trading and kind of get my footing there. So I would just say using small amounts when you first get started, and money that you're willing to lose, because you're not going to make money off the bat. Like I didn't make money off the bat. Just doesn't mean anyone can't, but like the odds of making money right off the bat are just very low. Like I've had, thanks to my mentor, I've literally had no red years thanks to him, because I got a really big head start. But if I didn't have him, I don't know if I'd even be here. But regardless of that, I still use small size even today. Like when I started shorting, I'm shorting like 500, 1,000 shares worth of a stock that's like at $10. That's what I first started doing. Now it's like more. But when I try something new, I'm not trying to do it and hit home runs. So I would kind of recommend those kind of two things. And like, I'm not trying to pitch anything, but I have an OTC chat where it's free. There's no cost to join, where like I just help people out. Like I like giving back to people who like learning. So if anybody wants to join, they can just either hit me up on Twitter. I don't really tweet much because I've just kind of the way I am. I don't try to pump stocks, but like I'm on Discord and I'm on Twitter. So if you can just reach out, and I'll help you there too. But I'd say the best time to learn is in the slow market, because you're used to stuff not moving. So when it goes off, now you're more well-read, you more understand everything, so you can trade better. So that's a long answer to what I would say is what your question is.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. This was a great episode.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks,
of course.
Joe.
All right, nice.
All right. Have a great week.
All right, thanks. You guys too.
By accessing this podcast, you acknowledge that the Penny Lane podcast makes no warranty, guarantee, or representation as to the accuracy or sufficiency of the information featured in this podcast. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only, and any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own risk. This podcast should not be considered professional or financial advice. Unless specifically stated otherwise, the Penny Lane podcast does not endorse, approve, recommend, or certify any information, product, process, service, or organization presented or mentioned in this podcast, and information from this podcast should not be referenced in any way to imply such approval or endorsement. The third-party materials or content of any third-party site referenced in this podcast do not necessarily reflect the opinions, standards, or policies of the Penny Lane podcast. The Penny Lane podcast assumes no responsibility or liability for the accuracy or completeness of the content contained in third-party materials or on third-party sites referenced in this podcast, or the compliance with applicable laws of such materials and/or links referenced herein.